Sorry for the clip show. Have no fears, we got stories for years.
All right, here we go.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to episode 64, the Halloween special. I'm excited, dude. Tell me, are you excited?
I was born excited for this.
I'm seriously stoked because we've been talking about this for a while and how we were going to get it done, and you know, if we can get some people to join in on it and you know, make it what we think it can be, and it turned out really good, man. I'm very excited for that.
We got a good response. I am pleasantly I don't want to say surprised because people that listen to the show are awesome.
You're pleasantly pleased.
Yeah, that's what I am.
Officially, how goes it, Ella Greg?
Good. I finally heard what you were talking about as far as the similarities between our theme song and the Space Ghost Coast to Coast theme song, because we were talking about it the other day and I was watching Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah, I think it's just the tone of the guitar.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
it connects now. Right on.
There it is. There's that click.
Well, first of all, you guys are going to get this before Halloween, but let's just say happy Halloween to you, because this will be the episode to serve as your Halloween spooktacular.
Listen to this every day until Halloween.
And then after that, keep listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not going to waste a lot of time up front. Thank you to everybody who sent something in. Thank you to everybody for listening. Do you guys remember Bobby Got Stez Roberts? Yeah.
X_X Bobby's got Stez _X.
He was on the famous JP yelling at him to sink his shit episode. So Bobby came by to the Super Network studio and told me a little story about a demonic possession he believes he was a part of.
And didn't he sink his shit too?
He said that he was going to sink his shit if he was allowed to come back. But that was for an episode, so we haven't crossed that bridge yet. So, Bobby, remember you got to sink your shit when you join the episode, and everybody, just sit back and just listen to Bobby Got Stez Roberts.
I was about 16 years old, and I had gotten into a lot of things I will not name. Ecstasy. So back in the day, you know, like it was just wild. You know, we were out doing crazy things, going to River Park for a little bit, and then leaving to go into one of the homies' house to get more fucked up. And one time we went down to downtown-ish, the Ventura. You go all the way down past like the park and the neighborhood and stuff like that. And there's like these little projects. There's like these houses that are really, really cheap, really, really close together. It literally screams projects. Like there's dudes outside the houses just trying to sell you stuff. It's crazy. So one night we go to this what will I call her? I'll call her Para. Don't try to make any names out of it. This girl named Para invited us over to her house, and her mom was really chill. She let us do all this crazy stuff because she was doing it too. She got free stuff and she was okay with it. One night, we all go in a group to her house. It is really dark already. We just spent maybe 5 hours at River Park, and we go to these projects to have an after party. And I'm walking up, and it's about 11 p.m. I'm walking up to the house, and I look to the left of me, and the address says, and I shit you not, I'm being honest, it says 6669. I was like, oh, whew. That's just me being in my head. 9 falls. The 9 little, because it was like messed up pieces. The 9 was like on a nail, and I guess it was just too loose, and it fell. I said, oh shit. And I was going to say something to somebody, but I was like, no, they're not going to believe me. They're going to think, oh, you're high. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was going to actually happen. And so I didn't say anything about it. So I walk into the house. We have fun for about an hour. My friend, his name is, I'm going to call him Taubert. Okay, his name's Robert, but he was carrying on this for a while. Backstory: he's been carrying around this German Bible for about a week and a half. No one knows where he got it from. He's kind of like one of those guys you would know back in the day who was like homeless, but he just slept on everybody's couches, and he just traveled. He was like a wanderer. He's a drifter. No one really knew too much backstory, and he had this German Bible. So at this time in the night, he has this German Bible, and all of a sudden, we're sitting around. Everyone's had their stuff. Actually, it's kind of close to dying down. Like, we're not feeling too high anymore. And this guy, Robert, has his Bible in his hand, and all of a sudden he starts convulsing and, like, literally spazzing out on the floor, like, completely breaking things, moving things on accident because he's hitting against it. His head's going back, and he starts speaking, like, and I shit you not, like, a couple people said it too. Like, they was full German. Doesn't even know how to read the Bible. Doesn't know how to speak German. Started speaking full German, and we're like, or something that sounds like German. It was crazy. Maybe I was a little still for the time being, but it was definitely dead. And he starts convulsing and doing all this stuff, and I immediately, you know me, I've had many past experiences with like demonic or angelic types of occurrences, and I just something told me right in my instinct, this dude is possessed. Like, he's possessed. So everyone's freaking out. They don't know what to do. Like, some people are thinking it's a zombie thing. Like, for real. Like, they're like, this is it. You know what I mean?
Carrying around a weird German Bible, man.
Bro, it's been weird. It was weird. Like, and he was like, and so he starts doing this stuff. So I jump on top of this dude, like full on, like, I mean, RKO style. Like, I get on him, boom. Two people grab his arms. They grab his arms immediately. I said, two people grab his legs. Two people are like, okay, cool. I say, yo, you over there, Para. Well, I guess I told you Robert's name. Sarah, go over there and get the water. Get a jug of water right now. I'm going to bless this water. I don't even care if it works or not. I'm going to do it. I believe in it. I'm going to be concrete in this. And I say, go get that water, bowl of water. So she gets a bowl of water. She comes up to me. I do my thing. I do my cross thing. I try to do a prayer over the water. Just, saying that, dear Jesus, I hope, or like, please, make this water holy, blessed, and grant us mercy of your will, blah, blah, blah. And then all this stuff was coming out of me, like, just out of nowhere. And I get the water, I started putting on his forehead and saying, like, honestly saying, like, the cliche things, like, may the power of Christ compel you or something like that. Because I didn't know. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I was going to say.
No, but everybody stand back. I've seen these.
I was that go-getter guy. So, of course, it was me doing it. And, it didn't work at first, and he started doing it crazy. He started yelling at me and trying to spit on me. And I was like, I'm still a young dude, so I punched him in the face. I just like, I hit him in the face. I'd say, don't you fucking spit on me, bro. Like, and he's just like, I'm like, oh wait, he's obviously possessed right now. I'm not gonna get to him like that. And then I say something, and I look him right in his like eye sockets, and I was like, you will leave my friend in the name of Jesus Christ. And if you do not, blah, blah, blah. I said something else. And then he stopped. He breathed one time. I looked around at everybody, looked back at him. I have my hands kind of close to his neck because I'm not going to get spit on or like bit or something like that or whatever. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just going to hold him back if anything. And then he's like, lets out a good gasp and then just closes his eyes, and he's calm. He's normal. He gets up. He's like, his head's shaking. He's shaking his head. He's like, man, what the? And then like everyone's freaking out. Like, what the heck? Some people are cheering. Some people are like really excited. And this is the funny thing. This is the beginning of the story. So that happens. I go out at this time frame. I was smoking cigarettes. Unfortunately, that's one of the scary parts of this. Because death. I was out there and I was by the 666 post, and I'm looking at the 9 on the ground, and there's these 3 light post beams, and they were going down this like open project like house like alleyway. They're flickering, At this time I'm like, no, I'm not gonna wrap my head around that, blah blah blah. Whatever happened in there, whatever. And then I'm like, I start feeling like I'm being crowded, like I'm being really crowded. And I'm smoking the cigarette and I look at the last light, it goes off. Then it goes back on. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. You know what I mean? Like, cause like I've had demonic experiences. So I kind of know the feeling of when I'm being close to something that's not too right. Even if it's something off the TV, I know when I can just feel when it's like, I think it's brainwashed, you know, maybe it's a conspiracy, but whatever. And my friend Jake comes out and he sits next to me and he goes, smokes a cigarette with me. He's like, man, that was crazy in there, dude. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I mean, that might have been real. And he was like, dude, that was real. And I was like, when's the last time you took a pill? He's like, dude, it's been hours. I'm like, bro, me too. Like, that was real. And he was like, oh, man. And we're hitting it. We look over, the light flickers off again. And I said, man, I light flickered off last time, man. They probably just pour. It's a poor area, you know? And it stays off. I'm like, well, it's not coming back on. And then I start feeling this crowdedness. And he's like, man, I feel weird. I'm like, what do you feel like? And he says, I just feel like, I don't feel like we're alone. And I'm like, what? And then the next light goes off. And then the next light goes off, the one that's kind of close to us. And then I'm like, what? And I look around. And when I look around back at the door to the house, that dude is outside the house, like with a blanket, just staring to the lights. And I'm like, it's coming back and it's brought homies, dog. Like I started I said, get him in the house. I'm running. And like, then all of a sudden, like I'm trying to get to him and like get him in the house. Before I can get there, I feel like this push on my back and I like tumble down to the ground. And I'm like, what the I was like, oh, hell nah. So I try to punch the air because I feel like maybe I could do some effect. I mean, that's probably stupid. If he can touch me, why can't I touch him? You know what I mean? Really stupid shit. And nothing happens. I'm like, okay, I feel stupid, but we get him in the house and I'm like, all right. You know what? Keep the water next to him. Give me another bucket of water, Sarah. I'm gonna bless this. I'm gonna put a barrier around this house. I don't give a fuck. So she gets the water. I bless the water again. I start pouring it around the house. And then the funny thing is, we all stay in the house. We obviously were on ecstasy just not a couple hours ago, so we're not gonna fall asleep. You know what I mean? Like we're drained. And the morning light comes up, and we walk out of there, take a bus back home, and crash out. And it was just the craziest moment I'll never ever forget, because I legitimately felt like I might have been fucked around with demons, but still saved a friend.
Thanks for the story, Bobby. That was wild.
It's fucking
Demons,
crazy.
Kids on drugs. It had everything.
Yeah. It's like I feel like at any moment Jason Voorhees could have showed up.
I feel like he should have, maybe at one point or another.
Missed opportunity, Bobby. So from Bobby's story, we're going to move to my brother Clayton's story. Now, Clayton didn't bring us a personal experience, but he did bring us a story of the occult.
I love occult.
I know. That's why I was so excited to tell you about it. So chill for a minute and listen to Clayton tell you a little bit about a cult that I hadn't heard of before this.
I'm going to chill so hard for this.
Yes.
The Fall River Cults. And took place in the late 70s in a town called Fall River, and I think Massachusetts. I might be wrong, but it's somewhere up there. There was something right around the corner that was going to come called Satanic Panic. It was a big deal in, I guess, the early 80s. You know, a lot of people worried about that kind of shit. But, so Fall River, 2 prostitutes found dead. Barbara Ramposa and Doreen Levesque, both prostitutes, bound, raped, tortured to death. Both have an X carved into their torso or somewhere else on their body. So instantly there's a connection there. Stabbed several times, stuff. So, but apart from the X, what makes it interesting with forensic analysis is that it suggested that they both actually died by stoning. So, you know, suggested a little ritualistic element to it, you know. Not many people die from that nowadays. I don't really think it's that common. It turns out, you know, this sleepy little town, Fall River, you know, it's kind of has like this Twin Peaks vibe a little bit, you know, really simple. Yeah, a little bit, right? But underneath, you know, that like innocent kind of image that they had, there was this huge web of a satanic worshiping crime syndicate that was brewing in the background of everything. So, a month after one of them goes missing, Barbara Raposa's boyfriend, Andy Malchus, files a missing persons report. This guy's a creep, too. He's a convicted pedophile and rapist, and as of recently, a devout Christian. So he starts talking, they can't get a good read on him. So, but once he starts talking about a satanic cult, the detective's minds go back, oh, ritualistic shit, maybe, what's going on with this guy? Might be relating to the murder of another girl that they hadn't released, Doreen Levesque, the other girl that was found dead. And apparently at the time of Barbara's gone missing a month ago, him and her were both Satan worshippers, Andy Malchus and Barbara. Seems a little quick up to switch from Satan worshiping to devout Christian, a month. But that's just a little weird. This guy, Andy Malchus, once he brings that kind of shit up, detectives are interested in him, man. He offers a meeting with 2 members of something called the Fall River Cult. What the fuck is that? And Karen Marsden and Robin Murphy. Both runaway prostitutes, drug addicts, lovers. They get this meeting going, sit him down, and it doesn't take long for them to finger this guy, Carl Drew, to the murder of Levesque and Barbara. This guy's a fucking weirdo, too. He's a meth addict. He's a pimp and a prostitute. I don't know. This whole town of Fall River's got this kind of weird thing going on. And later on, this girl claims... later on, this girl, unrelated to the crime, she had made it out alive, had said that this guy, Carl Drew, claimed he was going to tie her to a tree to be sacrificed, pour goat's blood all over her face. A little bizarre. People don't usually say stuff like that. And she says it's all part of something called the Fall Rivers Cult. It's a web of Satan-worshipping meth-head prostitutes and other colorful characters in the vicinity of this little Massachusetts town. I think it's Massachusetts, I don't know. And they've been at this a while. They've been looking at these 2 murders a while and have these web of interesting characters that they're going off of. So they start looking at old unsolveds, comparing them to both Levesque and Barbara Ramposa, the ex, the ritualistic murder kind of forensic shit, and found that there had been almost a dozen similar scenes that they just didn't compare them to. They didn't have the knowledge of this cult. And up to that point, there had been about a dozen other murders that they had at that point connected. So there'd been for a while these ritualistic murders going on in the city.
Also, it is Massachusetts. I looked at it.
Similar kind of scenes, bound, raped, tortured, left in the woods. But the X is what connected all of them. A lot of them had that X on them. And whoever didn't, they did the forensic shit. And they suggest that it had been murdered ritualistically as well, whether stoning or, other shit like that. So they can't pin anything on Carl Drew. So they got to let him go. But a few days later, that same girl, Robin Murphy, calls. It says she'll testify against Raposa's boyfriend, Andy Malchus. But while he's detained, another body comes up missing. Or another body is found. And this time they got the forensics dependent on Carl Drew. So they have to let Andy Malchus go. It's this huge, confusing shit going on. Cops think this thing's a mess, because days later, another body pops up. Same MO, and a woman reports Robin Murphy as the killer. Robin Murphy is one that said she would testify. So all this turns out to Robin Murphy was a sort of den mother to this group of hillbilly meth heads, Satan worshippers. And all of them ended up knowing, all of them were interconnected into this weave of crimes. It wasn't just one person doing it, because a group of detectives later said that they managed to witness one of their black masses that they held in the woods towards the end of the investigation. they were able to watch one of their black masses, and they were able to pinpoint, like identify, like Andy Malsh's, Carl Drew, a bunch of them. And one of the detectives said that they heard and knew that Satan had actually appeared there because the members of the Fall Rivers cult, some of them would let him speak through them in his own language, that it wasn't human speech. No way anyone could fake that. I don't know. It seems kind of fucking weird. Yeah. Like, I don't know. So, but in the end, there was a total about 15 connected murders with 10 to 30 members of this cult that they could identify, ranging. So, turns out Murphy breaks down and confesses to orchestrating most of them with the help of Carl Drew. And, but what gets me most about this kind of stuff isn't the actual crimes, but instead, what could psychologically bring a person to, falling into that sort of like occultist, see, the way I see it is that everyone's got a void in them that they need to fill. And some, they fill it with the Christian God, some with Allah or whatever. But some people reject the idea of what our common held idea of a righteous divine reward is, and instead look for something in the darkest and deepest recesses of our consciousness, and the realization of a lack of truth. They're trying to fill that, and they have no meaning in the grand scheme of things. So the same notion that takes people to church or makes them give a homeless person money, divine reward, but these people latch onto it in a different way. It's fulfilled by ritualistic rape, murder, things that go against what our nature naturally wants, but they rewire themselves to desire for. They're needing to fill that void. It takes them to that point, or they're just fucking psychos, what do I know? But
it's one of the two for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clayton, for rolling through the Super Network studio and bringing us a story about a cult.
Yeah, see, I thought you said a cult.
I'm bad at English, man.
A cult. I mean, I wasn't disappointed either way. It was the same.
It had a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, it definitely had a House of a Thousand Corpses feel.
Yes, I love that I have a brother young enough that he wasn't, privy to the satanic panic.
Yeah, you and I caught the tail end of it.
Yeah, for sure. Not that we lived through it particularly, but yeah, it's it's interesting. I just thought that was pretty cool.
Definitely helped us turn out the way we are.
Yes.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. So, yeah, thanks, Clay. It was a super kick-ass story. I had never heard of that, so it was new for me, and I like that. So, Greg, how about I give you two choices? We're going to listen to both anyway. Do you want the first anonymous call, or do you want to hear from Cameron?
I hear from Cameron plenty. Give me an anonymous call.
We're going to give you the anonymous call. So this particular anonymous call is only anonymous because they called the voicemail line, they left us this voicemail, and they never left a name. So thank you, anonymous storyteller.
How many people are going to be in the comments going, that was me? Because I totally would. Depending on how the story shakes out, I might take credit for it.
Just at the end,
edit stuff.
At the end, this might just be yours.
Voice. I could have done that with the computer. You don't know.
No, I know, but no one else does. All right, so let's check out our first anonymous story in this Halloween special.
Up in the mountains, there was a rural airfield, like a grass airfield. And this guy and his wife, and I think they had a friend with them, were about going to take off in their plane. And the plane didn't get enough altitude and crashed into the trees. And so they called the county medical examiner out to, clean up the body, clean up the scene. And so the guy gives it an all clear. And this couple, they had a son. And the son asked, can I go up there? Pay my final respects. and, just say goodbye to my parents. And the medical examiner says, yeah, you're good. There should be no more bodies up there. So this guy goes up there, and it's, middle of the woods, big burn spot, trees are cut down, and he's walking around, and he finds his mom's hand, and he knows he found his mom's hand because he found the hand with his mom's ring still on it. He's like, that's freaky. So he keeps walking around, and he finds, a couple more body parts. I think there's like another hand and a foot. And he's like, oh man, this is crazy. So he gathers up the body parts, and he puts them in the back of his car and starts driving down the mountain. And then it hits him. It's like, if I get pulled over, there's no talking out of this. Like, I literally have body parts in my car. Like, cops are going to take me to jail for murder. So he goes back up there, digs a little hole, puts the body parts in the hole, and puts like a little, couple rocks over it so he knows where it is. Heads back down and finds a medical examiner. And says, like, dude, you didn't clean up these bodies. Like, there's still bodies up there. So he, I guess, I don't know the exact term, but I think he either sued him or, accused him of like a malpractice type deal. And so he hires my dad to, be his lawyer. And my dad's like, you need to, how did you not find all these body parts? Just about every human has 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 legs, a head, a body, very standard stuff. So my dad's like, let's look at these, the pictures you took of the body bags. So he goes in and looks at the body bags. And these body bags have like, 2 torsos and a foot. And then the next one will have like 3 hands, 2 heads, and a leg. And the next one will have like 3 legs, a hand, and like 1 head, and like nothing else. And so, this is kind of the boring part, but my dad basically argues you should have been able to find these body parts. You should have known that there are body parts up there. You shouldn't have told the kid, that all the body parts are cleaned up. Ultimately, the judge ruled that it was unreasonable to assume that after a violent impact like that, you could find every single body.
So it actually cuts off there because our voicemail only records for 3 minutes. So for future F, if anybody's going to call 3 minutes is where you're getting cut off. I was able to find this, and he was at the end there. The judge ruled that there's no way that it's reasonable to assume that the medical examiner could have covered like that amount of forest to find every piece of.
Right.
Yeah. So the guy did not win his case in that particular one, but fucking crazy story, man.
Yeah. I can tell it wasn't me. I was super interested in the whole time, and I'm never interested in anything I have to say. So I could tell it wasn't me.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's the perfect way to find out it wasn't you, that you were very interested in it. All right, man. So then we've got a couple more here. Greg hasn't heard a lot of these, you guys. I've kind of kept them in the dark about these. So Greg's getting to hear a lot of these for the first time. So Greg, let me ask you now. Do you want to hear a story that was sent to us, written out by Erica B., who your lovely wife read for us, which is a true story? Or would you like to hear the one fictional story brought to us by Shanna Anderson?
I will take the fiction.
All right.
500, Alex.
So our good friend and follower, Shanna Anderson, sent us in a little bit of her fictional writing. And she read it too, which was cool. So we got a little bit of, like when you go to a reading of a book by the author, it's kind of we got a double whammy there. So you guys can see some of her fictional writing on her Instagram. Greg, you have it pulled up there?
Yeah, it's Bella_X Donna.
So go check it out. It was very interesting. It was our only fictional submission, which was like she called it like technically correct is best correct, because at the beginning of her voicemail she said, "You guys said anything goes, so here we go."
It totally does, and I'm so glad because one, I'm not a strong reader, so I like people reading to me, and two, it's good.
It's good. So everybody follow Shanna if you want to hear some and see some horror writing. And hopefully we'll see her writing a book one day. First book dedication to the serial chillers.
Yo, I want Back Jacket.
All right, fair enough. Yeah,
I want to give a blurb.
I was going to say, let us give a blurb, Shanna, on your first book. We would love to do that. So sit back, everybody, and check out Shanna's story.
My name is Shanna Anderson. So here it goes. Court State and Asylum for Women has been running since 1902. The year is now 1947. Dr. Solon has noticed odd behavior in the girls within the last month or so. They appear to be infatuated with the walls of the institution, constantly scratching, smelling, and whispering to the walls. A note from his journal, dated January 8, 1947. I suppose this is the result of competitive nature between the girls for my attention. My longtime schizophrenic patient, Isabella, has been having worse and worse episodes. My attention, I cannot lie, has been directed more towards her and her condition than the others. Next journal entry. March 9th, 1947. I fear the worst. I captured this photo of the girl suspended midair. What matter of science can be explained? Can explain this? I do not know. They have been scratching and smelling the walls. Next journal entry, April 4th, 1947. I hear movement behind the walls. Something is in there. Crews have began to search for the entity within the walls, but have found nothing. Next journal entry, dated April 25th, 1947. Symbols have been found drawn within the walls with small handprints. It is my belief that one of the girls is indeed provoking this chaos and witchery. Which girl, I cannot begin to know, perhaps one of the Thomas twins. March 2nd, 1947. The crew members have been ransacking the interiors of the walls for days now. Nothing has been found. The girls are beginning to slam their heads against the wall, floating midair. Isabella is inconsolable. Her outbursts have worsened. She hit her head so hard yesterday, I fear there is serious trauma. March 11th, 1947. Next journal entry. A discovery was made today beyond shocking beyond the high attic of the asylum. Workers discovered a crazed old patient of mine. We had believed her to be dead, and other physicians had witnessed her die mid-seizure, as myself. We had thought. Nina was her name. Before Nina's passing, she became infatuated with me, always asking me about my long-lost love from France, to whom I used to write letters to every week. About the time of Nina's death, the letters stopped. I assumed my love, Claire, wanted things to end. Full of sorrow, I began to lose myself in my work. Upon discovering Nina, dozens of letters from Claire's were found scattered across the attic, some that I had written, others from Claire. In each location where I had wrote Claire, a large X was sharply placed over Claire's name, and in its place was written in black, Nina. Next journal entry. March 12, 1947. Upon further searching beneath the floorboards of the attic, a body was found wearing Claire's locket. I had sent her. I am heartbroken. Claire had supposedly planned to surprise me that Thanksgiving years ago. She was waiting for me in my office. Nina must have spotted her in her many peepholes she had made throughout the asylum. Nina was transferred to a maximum security asylum today. Her charms and many textbooks and witch practice burned. The other girl's behavior became normal once again. I resigned from my position today. Fun little excerpt from just some of the horror writing that I've done and I share on my Instagram. Thanks so much, guys. Sorry it was a little split up and whatnot, but I appreciate it, and I love your guys' podcast. Thanks so much, Shanna.
Get your jaw off the floor, Greg. The entire time you were just like, shut up and let me listen.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. That was a good story. I really like that. I didn't see the twist coming.
Shanna, we are fans, so keep it going. We support you. We hope that you reach your dreams of becoming a horror writer, because you better fucking believe we're going to be at your first autograph signing.
Yup.
Okay, Greg, we've got 5 more tales to go.
We're at like the halfway point?
We're halfway-ish. Do you want to take a little break?
Not this time.
Perfect.
Push on.
So I'm gonna bring you back an option. Cameron with a UFO.
Ooh.
Or Summer Schilling bringing us a true crime story. A truly fucked up true crime story.
You know me. Got to go with UFO.
Let's bring in the UFO. Cameron, tell us a little bit about the time your grandpa saw one.
My grandfather, back when I was a younger man, smaller, he used to work for the Air Force. He was a mechanic on the big bomber planes. So I got a lot of cool stories from him about doing that. But one that stood out that links to the topic we just discussed was about how they were moving from the New Mexico area to California because he got restationed out here somewhere. I can't remember what base it was. But he was in his 57 Chevy Bel Air, And he had grandma in the car. He had my mom, her sister, and my uncle. And they were cruising through New Mexico, open desert. And he had heard stories about UFOs and test planes and shit like that. And he never really paid them much credence or cared really much at all. But his last day on base, somebody said something like, hey, be careful tonight. You know, roads can be dangerous. You know, you just worked a full shift, blah, blah, blah. But he said it seemed a little weird. Like it was a little slightly more than like his buddy who worked with him on planes saying, hey, drive safe. You know, good luck in California. Be careful. You know, he worked 20 fucking hours or whatever. So they're cruising. Says he was doing the speed limit. I don't buy it. Because Grandpa back in the day used to race cars locally here back when we had a racetrack in our town. So he was probably speeding pretty quick. And he swears that he was going about 60, 70 miles an hour. And all of a sudden he saw what looked like headlights behind him. And keep in mind, this is like midnight, 1 a.m, New Mexico desert. Not a whole lot happening out there. Not a whole lot shit making light. And, everybody in the car was asleep. He was just cruising, listening to nothing but open road. And he says he starts to hear a whooshing noise. It sounds a little bit like a jet engine spooling up. And he didn't think much of it. And the lights were staying far back. Like they were still probably about half a mile behind him, just bright enough to be seen. And so he's just cruising on, thinking it's weird. He hears a jet engine spooling up. So he starts looking around out of the car window to try and see if he can spot the plane lights to see if it was one of the planes he was working on or something like that. And all of a sudden, he said it's like somebody hit the high beams, but it was green. He's like, what the fuck? Not an MP because they use red and blues just like everybody else does. And he was on one lane. There was nowhere to pull over to let somebody pass because he thought somebody just got on him and fucking hit the high beams. And so he sticks his arm out the window and tells him to wave around, waves him around, tells him to go around. And all of a sudden, they just fucking go straight up 90 degrees up in the air and fly over top. And they don't hit him with a spotlight or nothing, but he can still see the green lights up front shooting straight ahead like 2 headlights. And then it's got white lights instead of red and blue on starboard and aft. And then another white light on the tail that's strobing like a plane. And it keeps pace with him about his 1 o'clock as he's driving. And he wakes up Grandma and wakes up the kids. He's like, guys, look at this. It's a UFO. It's a UFO. And they didn't care. They're like, whatever, it's fucking 1 a.m. Fuck off. We just fell asleep. We're on a road trip in a 57 Chevy. Ain't no fucking heater. You're rolling with the windows down. It's like 30 something degrees, Grandpa. God damn. So he's like, oh, fucking, there's a UFO right fucking there. And Grandma looks and she's like, that's nice, dear. And then goes back to sleep. And as soon as everybody kind of got over it, it just fucking shot off towards the mountains and disappeared. And he reported it to his CO when he got to base. And the CO said, sounds like you didn't see anything. And he's like, no, but sir, I saw, this is what I saw. It was green. It was going fast, all this, that, and the other. And the CO says, Lou, sounds like you didn't see anything.
Right. So you don't wind up in an underground base somewhere.
And eventually Grandpa got the hint and he's like, sounds like I didn't see anything. I might have been tired. He's like, you probably were tired. You should probably go home and rest.
Oh,
damn. That's awesome.
So moral of the story is you see something weird in the Mexican desert when you're hauling ass with your family moving across state lines, keep that shit to yourself.
Who doesn't love a good UFO story? I know I do.
If you don't like a good UFO story, then fuck you. Get out of here.
What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, come on. There's stories for a reason. Like them.
Get on my level.
Yeah. So, all right. Damn. Okay. This Halloween special is awesome, dude. I'm so excited. Like these.
It has a little bit of everything.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is we brought everybody who sent something for the most part is here. Like we got them all in here. So we got a UFO. We got cult. We got murder. We got it. You're exactly right. It's a nice melting pot of hell yeah. Okay. So How about another anonymous one? I'm not going to give you a choice this time. I'm going to give you our last anonymous story of the day.
Fine.
Stew it.
I don't need a choice anyway.
Basically, I was dating this guy when I was in high school, and I was at work, and I got all these messages from my friends in high school, and they were like, hey, man, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was like, what the fuck? And one of my friends was like, have you looked on Facebook? And I was like, no, I'm at work. But then I looked at Facebook, and a person I was dating posted photos of himself covered in blood. So I was like, all right, that's fucking cool. So apparently what he did was he went and bought pig's blood, according to him, and he covered himself in blood to take selfies online, but then also to scare me because normally I would come over after work. So he got the blood and put like his shoes in the blood and like put footprints on the door and put like handprints everywhere and stuff to try and scare me. So that's my story.
So it sounds like that guy is an aspiring performance artist and also a little bit of a creep, because where do you buy pig's blood? I get pig parts. Like you can go to a pig part store and get that stuff.
I imagine it's the same place, right?
I feel like the guy selling you the blood is just as in the wrong as the guy buying the blood.
Well, here's my thing is that, you know, if you're going to prank somebody and like put blood on the wall, just fucking go get stage blood. Because like, what's that going to smell like in just like 6 hours? You know? Come on, that guy. What the fuck's your problem?
Boo.
Boo, that guy. Well, thank you, anonymous storyteller.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg. So let's go. We have a finale that the fans are going to be calling for. So that one's going last. Okay. This one is
okay.
It's the anchor.
So out of the 5 that were left, we've got what?
We've got 2 left and then the anchor.
And then the anchor. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So do you want crazy fucked up true crime, Summer Schilling, or do you want Erica B's story that she wrote to us and your wife Sam read?
I listened to the one that Sam read and I edited it and stuff like that. So let's do crazy fucked up true crime, because I like that. That's why I'm here. I mean,
yes.
Hello.
Let's do it. This one's by Summer Schilling.
Hey guys, my name is Summer Schilling, and my submission for the Halloween special is the murder and torture of Junko Furuta. I remember hearing about this story back in high school, and I couldn't believe how horrible and horrendous it was. And I actually got a chance to go to the neighborhood in Tokyo where she was tortured and murdered. And, you know, it was a really quiet, nice neighborhood. Like, you just wouldn't believe that something this heinous went on there. And this is kind of a long story. I didn't want to leave out a lot of the details because they're just really grisly and bad, but I'll try to make it not as long. So here we go. Junko Furuta was a Japanese high school student who was born in Misato, Saitama Prefecture in Japan. She attended Yashio Minami High School and worked as a part-time employee during after-school hours. She was known to be popular and good-looking, which made some of her classmates envious. She was looked down upon the gangster-like teenagers since she refrained from smoking, drinking alcohol, and drug usage. Hiroshi Miyano, a known school bully with connections to the Yakuza, which is the Japanese mafia, had a crush on Junko, but she turned him down since she was not looking for a relationship. With the exception of Junko Furuta, nobody dared to oppose Miyano due to his Yakuza connections. On November 1988, Miyano and his friend Nobuhiro Minato wandered around Misato with the intention of robbing and raping local women. At 8:30 p.m., I don't know why I put 880, they spotted Furuta cycling home after she finished her part-time job. Under Miyano's orders, Minato kicked Furuta off her bicycle and immediately fled the scene. Miyano, pretending to be an innocent bystander, approached Furuta and offered to walk her home safely. Gaining her trust, Furuta was unaware that Miyano was leading her to a nearby warehouse where he revealed his Yakuza connections. Miyano threatened to kill her as he raped her in the warehouse and once again in a nearby hotel. From the hotel, Miyano called Minato and his other friends, Joe Ogura and Yasushi Watanabe, and bragged to them about the rape. Ogura reportedly asked Miyano to keep her so that they could all have a turn. The group had a history of gang rape and had recently kidnapped and raped another girl, although she was released afterward. Around 3 a.m., Miyano took Furuta to a nearby park where Minato, Ogura, and Watanabe were waiting. They told her that they knew where she lived from a note in her backpack and the Yakuza would kill her family if she attempted to escape. She was easily overpowered by the four boys and taken to a house in the Ayase district of Adachi-ku in Tokyo, where she was gang raped. The house was owned by Minato's parents, which soon became their regular gang hangout. On November 27th, Furuta's parents contacted the police about their daughter's disappearance. In order to stop the manhunt, the kidnappers convinced her into calling her mother. She was forced to say that she had ran away, but she was safe and staying with a friend. She was also forced to ask her mother to stop the police investigation into her disappearance. When Minato's parents were around, Furuta was forced to pose as the girlfriend of one of the kidnappers. They later dropped the pretext when it became clear that Minato's parents would not report them to the police. The Minatos stated that they did not intervene because they were aware of Miyano's Yakuza connections and feared retaliation, and because their own son was increasingly violent towards them. Minato's brother was also aware of the situation, but also did nothing to prevent it. It's also worth noting that almost over 100 people knew what was going on, but they did nothing to stop it because they were afraid of these boys. And Furuta was held captive in the Minato residence for 40 days, where she was abused, raped, and tortured. They also invited and encouraged their other friends from the Yakuza to torment Furuta. According to their trial statements, the four of them raped her over 400 times, beat her, starved her, hung her from the ceiling, and used her as a punching bag, dropped barbells onto her stomach, forced her to eat live cockroaches and drink her own urine, and forced her to masturbate in front of them. They inserted foreign objects into her vagina and anus, including a lit light bulb and fireworks into her vagina. They burned her vagina and clitoris with cigarettes and lighters, and burned her eyelids with hot wax. They also tore off her left nipple with pliers and pierced her breasts with sewing needles. Some of the torturer's friends have been officially identified, including Tetsuo Nakamura and Koichi Ihara, who were charged with rape after their DNA was found on and in the victim's body. Koichi Ihara was allegedly bullied into raping Furuta. After he left the Minato household, he told his brother about the incident. His brother subsequently told their parents, who contacted police. 2 police officers were dispatched to the Minato house. However, they were informed that there was no girl inside. The police officers declined an invitation to look around the house, believing the invitation was sufficient enough proof that there was no girl in the Minato house. Both officers faced considerable backlash from the community. Had they done their due diligence, Furuta's ordeal would have lasted only 16 days, and she may have recovered from her injuries. The 2 officers were fired for failing to follow procedure. At the beginning of December, Furuta attempted to call the police. However, she was discovered by Hiroshi before she could say anything. When the police phoned back, Miyano informed them that it was a mistake. As punishment, they doused her legs and feet in lighter fluid and set them on fire. They also pushed a large bottle into her anus, causing severe bleeding. She reportedly went into convulsions. During their trial, they stated that they thought she was faking a seizure, so they set her on fire again. She survived the injuries and continued to be raped and tortured. Furuta is reported to have asked her captors on multiple occasions to kill her and get it over with, but they refused. Instead, they forced her to sleep out on the balcony. It was winter at the time, and they locked her in a freezer. One of the kidnappers told the court that her hands and legs were so badly damaged that it took her over an hour to drag herself downstairs to use the bathroom. Due to the severity of the torture, she eventually lost bladder and bowel control and was beaten for soiling the carpets. She was also unable to drink water or consume food and would vomit after each attempt. She was also severely beaten for this. The brutality of the attacks drastically changed Furuta's appearance. Her face was so swollen that it was difficult to make out her features. Her body was also severely crippled, giving off a rotting smell that caused the 4 boys to lose sexual interest in her. As a result, the boys kidnapped and gang raped a 19-year-old woman who, like Furuta, was on her way home from work. On January 4th, 1989, the 4 boys challenged Furuta to a game of mahjong, which she is said to have won. Out of frustration, the boys beat her with an iron barbell, kicked and punched her, and placed 2 short candles on her eyelids, burning them with hot wax. They made her stand and struck her feet with a swinging stick. At this point, she fell onto a stereo and collapsed into a fit of convulsions. Since she was bleeding profusely and pus was emerging from her infected burns, the 4 boys covered their hands in plastic bags taped at the wrists. They continued to beat her and dropped an iron exercise ball onto her stomach several times. They poured lighter fluid onto her thighs, arms, face, and stomach and once again set her on fire. Furuta allegedly made attempts to put out the fire, but gradually became unresponsive. The attack reportedly lasted 2 hours. Furuta eventually succumbed to her wounds and died that day. Less than 24 hours after her death, Nobuharu Minato's brother called to tell him Furuta had appeared to be dead. Afraid of getting caught for murder, they wrapped her body in blankets and shoved them into a travel bag. Then they put her body in a 55-gallon drum and filled it with wet concrete. Around 8 p.m., they loaded and eventually disposed of the drum into a cement truck in Koto, Tokyo. Her murder case was named Concrete-Encased High School Girl Murder Case because of this. On January 23, 1989, Hiroshi Miyano and Joe Ogura were arrested for the gang rape of a 19-year-old woman they had kidnapped in December. On March 29th, 2 police officers came to interrogate them as women's underwear had been found at their address. During the interrogation, one of the officers led Miyano into thinking he knew of Furuta's murder, thinking Joe Ogura had confessed to the crime. Miyano told the police where to find Furuta's body. The police were initially puzzled by the confession, as they had been talking about the murder of another woman and her 7-year-old son that had occurred 9 days prior to Furuta's abduction. The case remains unsolved to this day. Okay, and just a disclaimer, I really don't know a lot about the Japanese judicial system. I know that they don't have a death penalty, and also the legal age of being an adult in Japan is 20, so if their ages seem a little old for being charged as juveniles, that's why. The police found the drum containing Furuta's body the following day. She was identified via fingerprints. On April 1st, 1989, Joe Ogura was arrested for another sexual assault and subsequently rearrested for murder. The arrest of Yasushi Watanabe, Nobuharu Minato, and Minato's brother followed. Despite the shocking brutality of their crime, the identities of the boys were sealed by the court since they were all considered juveniles at the time of the crime. Journalists from the Shukan Bunshun magazine discovered their identities, however, and published them. They stated that given the severity of the crime, the accused did not deserve to have the right to anonymity upheld. All 4 boys pled guilty to committing bodily injury that resulted in death rather than murder. In July of 1990, a lower court sentenced Hiroshi Miyano, the alleged leader of the crime, to 17 years in prison. He appealed his sentence, but Tokyo High Court Judge Ryuji Yanase sentenced him to an additional 3 years in prison. The 20-year sentence is the second highest sentence after life imprisonment. He was 18 at the time of the murder. Miyano's mother reportedly sent Furuda's parents 50 million yen, which is equal to 425,000 US dollars, and this is 1990s money, after selling their family home. In 2004, he tried to get parole, but due to an incident, it was denied. In January 2013, Miyano was rearrested for fraud. Due to insufficient evidence, he was released without charge on the 31st of that month. Nobuharu Minato, who was originally sentenced to 3 to 4 years in prison, received an upgraded sentence to 5 to 7 years. He was 17 at the time of the murder. Joe Ogura served 8 years in juvenile prison before he was released in August of 1999. He was 17 at the time of the murder. After he was released, he is said to have boasted about his role in the kidnapping, rape, and torture of Furuda. In July of 2004, he was arrested for the assault of an acquaintance he thought his girlfriend may have been involved with. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison for the assault and has since been released. Ogura's mother allegedly vandalized Furuda's grave, stating that she ruined her son's life. During sentencing, the judge commented that exceptionally grave and atrocious violence had been inflicted upon the victim, and that Junko Furuda had been murdered so brutally at the young age of 17 that her soul must be wandering in torment. Hearing the details of the brutal rape and torture, a spectator in the gallery fainted. Furuda's mother also reportedly had a mental breakdown, which required psychiatric treatment. Some of the boys have since changed their names. Hiroshi Miyano is now Hiroshi Yokohama, Nobuharu Minato is now Shinji Minato, and Tetsuo Nakamura is now Tetsuo Yamada.
Holy shit.
Crazy fucked up true crime.
That's crazy fucked. Well, the thing is that I've heard that story before, but I've never heard it told so well, I guess, first of all. Second of all, I feel like an asshole because I can't even hit a goddamn upstate New York name, and she's out there straight murdering these Japanese pronunciations. I am thoroughly impressed. That's
why I let you tell the stories, and all of mine happen in North America.
Mine do too, fucking Schenectady.
Well, yeah, but I mean, everybody knows that one. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're moving on here. So, okay, so we have the last one before what we're calling the anchor. The anchor is, we're not even saying that it's the best story. We're saying that this is the guest the people want. So let's hear Erica B's story. Sam read it. I actually haven't heard Sam's reading, but I loved this story. So I can't wait to hear it. And here is Greg's wife, Sam, reading a story sent to us by Erica B.
Yep.
So I have a story that isn't scary, but really creepy and 100% true. It involves me and my ex-boyfriend's family. I'll use first names only. Okay, so my boyfriend and I met working as chefs at a local country club. We had been dating for about 2 years, and his family really disliked me because I wasn't who they would have chosen for him, I guess. Needless to say, I had only ever met his sister and brother. No one else. His sister I loved. His addict, narcissistic brother I did not. One evening in October of 2008, I wasn't feeling well and I left work early, while my ex, Chris, stayed and cleaned up and finished dinner service. I went home and decided the only thing that would help would be a shower. For some very strange reason, I showered in the guest bathroom, and to this day, I still don't know what possessed me to shower all the way across the house. When I finished, I had to walk down a hall and through the living room to get to my bedroom for clothes and to lay down. The house was dark except for my wax warmers and a couple of computer screens with World of Warcraft lagging in the computer room. I walked into the living room and immediately my heart started to pound. The hair on my arms stood straight up. I noticed the clock on the mantle said 10:02 p.m. In the corner of my eye, behind our giant projector screen television, I saw something move. I'm normally a badass and not scared of much. but I hesitated to look. I slowly turned my head to the left, and there he was, a blonde-haired, green-eyed male in his mid-20s, hanging from my low-beam ceiling. I looked him straight in the eyes for what couldn't have been more than a few seconds, but what felt like minutes. It was long enough that if I still close my eyes, 10 years later, I see every crease and outline in his face and in his piercing green eyes. I cut my eyes away and slowly made my way to my bedroom. At this point, I didn't know if it was real or my overactive imagination. I knew if it was real, not to touch anything. But how did he get in? How did he manage to hang on non-supporting ceiling beams? I wasn't sure, but my first instinct was to call my boyfriend. No answer. Shit. I called again. No answer. I called the clubhouse and the receptionist said Chris had gotten a call and left about 10 minutes ago. She assumed he was coming home. He wasn't. Midnight rolled around. Almost 2 hours now that I've been locked in my own bedroom, afraid to walk anywhere in my house. Fuck it, I thought. I have to see him again. I slowly opened the door, and he was gone. No blood, no rope, no sign of him at all. The back door swung open, and there was Chris. I burst into tears. But wait, Chris had been crying too. Before I was able to ask him why, my mouth spewed out the story of the green-eyed hanging man behind the television. Chris stared blankly at me and then dropped to his knees. He asked what kind of cruel joke I was playing. That death isn't funny and that I have a sad, sick sense of humor if I meant to play with his emotions. I didn't understand. I just told him something that terrified me to the core, and he thought it was a joke. He started to sob. I asked where he'd been the last 2 hours, and his response was more than I can handle. He'd gotten a call from work soon after I left, from his mother, telling him to meet her at his aunt's house immediately. He left and went straight to that small home on the Mill Hill. It was surrounded by cops, EMS teams, and a fire truck. He ran up to a tree on the left side of the house with yellow caution tape around it. They were zipping up a body in a black bag. It was his cousin Scott. Scott had just broken up with his girlfriend and decided to take half a bottle of Xanax, 5 ecstasy tabs, and some cocaine before going crazy and hanging himself in his mom's front yard when she wasn't home. Through Chris's sobs, I asked him, when did this happen and what did Scott look like? There it was again. Every hair on my arms and neck were straight. As Chris explained that Scott was blonde and had green eyes, and it happened about 10 p.m. Chris thought I was playing a joke on him, telling him about the man hanging in our living room, until he realized I had never met Scott. Needless to say, sleeping that night was impossible. Even still, we both showed up for work the next morning at 5 a.m. I was distraught. I didn't feel like myself. Almost like I was having an out-of-body experience. People said I was hysterical, and Chris couldn't understand why Scott's death meant so much to me. I didn't know either. But it happened. A mental blackout. From accounts from other people, I begged for a pen and for something to write on. They said that I sat at the clubhouse bar, screaming and crying and writing on a bar napkin. They said when I was done, I threatened people until someone drove me to see Josh, the brother of my boyfriend whom I hated. The next thing I remember is standing in front of Josh as he sobbed at his front door. I didn't know how or why I had gotten there. I saw a napkin in his hand and asked where it came from. He said that I had just given it to him. I didn't remember doing that. I asked to read it. It was not my handwriting. I was only 21. I was still writing hearts over my eyes. This looked more like Mail's sloppy handwriting, and it was all in capital letters. Although I don't remember exactly what I wrote, the note said something like this. Josh, please don't be afraid. Please don't hate me for what I've done. I'm happy now. No more pressure, no more pain. I wasn't meant to be here forever. Please take care of my mom. And Josh, you are meant to live. I may have introduced you to the party life, but I hope my death shows you that you don't have to live that way forever. Please get healthy. I love you, brother. And our special collection of baseball cards are now yours. Look under the floor bed in my son's room beside the closet. Cash them in and use them to get yourself a better life. Scott. To this day, Josh is still sober. He has 2 kids and is living a better life. Chris and I are no longer together, but this is something that has bonded us forever, and we remain friends. A grieving family sometimes can't see why something happened, or cannot see the clarity in death. I was the only one not emotionally attached to Scott's family or his death. Maybe that's why I was used as a passage. Now, knowing that I'm an empath, I'm easily channeled. I can see why Scott used me. Seeing his death and my reaction to it, I honestly believe he could trust me and use me as that channel to get his message to Josh, and in turn, save a life that was on a very destructive path. So, although not too scary, it's super creepy. And just as a last side note, I visited Scott's grave 2 years ago, and right there on his headstone was a blank napkin. I touched it and remembered my gift, nodded at his grave, and smiled. I haven't been back since.
Hey, thanks, Samantha. That was wonderful. And thank you, Erica B. That was wonderful.
Yeah, truly. Like, Erica B set the scene. Like, I felt like I was in that house, man.
I could see her at the bar writing on the napkin.
Yeah, the great story, Erica B. Wonderful reading, Samantha. So I guess, Greg, what that brings us to...
The end of the show. Good night, everybody.
Peace out. Is what we are calling the anchor. So yes. I didn't promise that it was the best story. I didn't promise that it was the best sounding clip we have. What I did promise was that it is what the fucking people want.
It's another conspiracy theory by me. So this one time my internet kept going out, right?
So this is for all the people that have put in the requests. We've read them. We've seen them. We've heard them. They keep on coming. Here you go.
It was back in 1987. My papa had passed away in March. And shortly after that, we cleared his house out and some family friends moved in and they had a little boy. And they asked me one day, hey, Cheyenne, would you like to come and babysit? Reluctantly, I said, sure. So I go to babysit. For the life of me, I can't remember this little boy's name. But we're playing in the living room, and I have Jesse with me. He's just a little guy, a couple months old. And I hear a noise. And I think, must be a cat or a dog outside. Whatever. And I hear the noise again. Thinking, that's weird. So we keep playing, and we're in the living room. And let me set this house up. You walk in the front door, and there's the living room. And to the right, there was 2 bedrooms, a bathroom. To the left, there was a kitchen. And you walk down a pretty long hallway for a house. And it was just a master bedroom and a laundry room. So as the night goes on, I just hear little things that just set me a little uneasy. So I say, Papa, I know you're here. I'm not playing this game with you. the power goes out. What? Why is it dark? Okay, the power must be out in the neighborhood. I peek out the window. The neighbor's lights are on. Why aren't my lights on? Why aren't the lights in the house working? What is going on? So, what do? I pick up the phone and I call my dad. Dad, the power's out. All the neighbors' powers are on and there's something in the house. And he says, get the boys, which it was Jesse and the little boy I was watching, and go outside. That's what I should have done, right? No. Something, and this is the part that I don't know why, where, or what came from. Something made me walk down this hallway. Dark hallway. Long hallway. The boys were fine in the living room playing. Well, Jesse was just a baby, but they were fine. And I walked very slowly down this hallway. And I stood at my papa's door. He passed away in his bed in that room. He took a nap and just passed away. I stood at his door, and there was just something overpowering me that I needed to open the door. Cheyenne, open the door. Cheyenne, open the door. And I sort of felt myself like fighting. Nope, don't open the door. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I opened the door, and I swear a burst of cold air came at me. Of course, it probably didn't, but that wasn't the end of it. As I'm standing there and I felt like a burst of cold air came at me, I smelt my papa. Okay, well, the smell of most old people is Bengay. That was the smell. Not only that, but then something said, go sit on the bed. Why do I want to sit on the bed that my papa passed away on? But nope, I was drawn. And people, I'm telling you, this was not me saying, hey, walk down this dark hallway. Open this door, feel a gust of cold air, smell your papa, and sit on the bed he died on a month ago. But I did, and I sat on the bed. And about the time I sat on the bed, I heard a noise in the living room. Scared me to death, so I get up and I run down the living room, and it's my dad. He came to save us. So he says, what is going on? And I told him, we're sitting here. The power went out. I had heard weird noises. So he says, okay, come outside like I told you to do anyways. We go outside and he walks around the back, and someone had been in the backyard and they had flipped all the power off. So my scary story, not scary, not ghost, is even though I don't think my papa was there, I think it was a way of me being able to say goodbye to him and feeling and smelling and being right there where he was, where he took his last breath. So it may not have been a ghost. Maybe it was. I don't know. How about you?
Mama Chey, everybody. Yeah, you guys wanted it. There it is. Okay, she'll be back on an episode sooner than later. Greg, what do you think, man?
I think that was awesome. I think I like people's ghost stories.
Yeah, and it's, from what I understand and what we talked about a little bit after she was done recording, was that someone was back there. Like my grandpa said that there were footprints, that the door of the breaker had been open and was still lifted up, and that they were all manually flipped off. They weren't tripped.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's like a combo story. It's like the house almost got broken into and she got to say goodbye.
Yeah, that's,
Heavy. Mama Chey. Heavy. So, I mean, that's it, you guys. That's the Halloween special this year. It was awesome, I think. I mean, it's my show, so I think it's always awesome. But
totally.
Anything you want to throw out there, Greg? Anything you want to add at the end?
At Hella Greg on all your favorite social medias, even the ones you hate.
Yep.
That's it. That's really all I got. I just got to whore myself out a little bit more each time.
Yeah, I understand. We gotta get out there anyway, man. That's what it's all about here. So, Happy Halloween, everybody. You guys know how you can reach us, but just in case you don't, it's Facebook is Serial Chillers Podcast. The Instagram is at Serial Chillers Podcast. The Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. Gmail, serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. 1-805-666-2513 if you want to call in. Call in anyway when it's not a Halloween special. If you guys tell a story, we'll find somewhere to put it. If it's as good as the ones shot over here for Halloween special, we're gonna use these. So do it. Yes.
Do it now.
You can give to the Patreon, patreon.com/serialchillerspodcast.
Do that now too.
Yeah, we're just hoping big things to come, you guys. Not much, man. Enjoy the outro song by Clayton. And shit, man. Don't talk to strangers.
Or do whatever.
Greg's a rebel.
Got a clue.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.